Dana White's Contender Series, Week 8. Boom.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.
What is up, you guys? We're right back at it. Week 8 of Dana White's Contender Series. Already week 8 of the season. And we got a good card here. We got Beraho making his return to this season. He just recently fought. He's taking on Jesse Murray. Obviously, a lot of people thought that he probably should have got the contract. And it's pretty cool that Dana White and the UFC brass is giving him another opportunity. Didn't get that finish on the show the last time he fought, but you could definitely tell that this guy has some legit skills. He was kind of barking at Sean Strickland a little bit there on that episode, and this is a guy that, in my opinion, definitely has the makings of a UFC fighter. So it's good to see him get a second chance. You really wonder how much he's going to be pushing in this fight to get that finish. After getting stiff the first time around, he needs a finish here, or he really just needs to bring the fight. So that's pretty cool there. In the main event, Jonny Parsons taking on Solomon Renfro. That's a solid fight right there. Jonny Parsons, the Muay Thai instructor over at Syndicate MMA over in Vegas, a very talented striker. Solomon Renfro, a very talented fighter. Who a lot of people are high on this guy, so that's a solid fight there. It's just a solid card overall. It's another exciting night of fights on a Tuesday night, so I'm pumped for it. We're going to get into this entire card. We're going to get into this entire card here. But first and foremost, I do want to take a little brief look, very, very brief look at last week's episode because it was a good one. So you guys know I was excited for Week 7's episode going into it. I definitely feel that it delivered as well. It was a pretty nice fight card. Again, there were some fighters that I've been watching for quite some time, so I was excited to see them have this opportunity. We'll get to those fights real quick. Maria Silva gets the victory as we thought that she would. We thought she'd be a little bit too talented on the feet. She showed to have some ground skills as well. Didn't get the contract, though, but she's a girl that I do believe we'll see fighting in the UFC down the line. I think that she has some talent. She's young, and we will be seeing more of her down the line. In the next fight, this was a fight. I actually didn't pick this fight correct. It was the only fight I didn't pick correct on the card. But you guys know I did give props and respect to Slava Borishev. We talked about the kickboxing skills that he had, and we know that he's been putting in a lot of work with Team Alpha Male. So it was exciting to see him go in there and deliver. And in my opinion, against a very, very tough opponent in Chris Duncan. I think Chris Duncan, down the line, he will be fighting in the UFC as well. I think he has a lot of potential. But this guy, Slava is completely legit. He's nasty on the feet. He was way more technical with the striking. Beautiful counter punching. He ended up getting that nasty check hook on Chris Duncan, putting him out. Slava also showed that he's been working on his grappling. We saw him get taken down a couple times. He got backed up to his feet. Very, very excited to see Slava in the UFC. If you guys didn't catch that fight, you're going to be hearing a lot about him in the future. This guy is a polarizing figure. He goes by the name Slava Claus. The dude is just absolute entertainment. Check him out on Instagram. He does all types of dances and whatnot. It's been training fighting, whatever you want to call it, since he was a young kid. And that's what the game is about nowadays, which we're going to be talking about now in regards to Jake Hadley. This was the main fighter that I was excited to see on last week's episode. He ends up getting the contract even after missing weight. That's how impressive he was. Started off a little slow, but if you saw what he was doing in there, he was making the reads. I saw somebody comment on one of my posts recently saying that Headley's performance wasn't even that impressive. If you know what you're watching, it definitely was impressive. He was walking his opponent down in Mitch Rapasso, who is a very talented fighter. He was making some early reads in the first round. We saw him get taken down. You saw the level of defense with his jiu-jitsu, the way he was in control, but the way he was using his elbow to block a lot of the shots. I love the way he was blocking those shots and countering. Wasn't so active in the first round. And then when he decided to turn it up a notch, absolute destruction. Got the takedown on Mitch Rapasso there and ended up getting the rear naked choke. His ground game is nasty, and he's so young. I think he's 25 years old. I was so happy to see him get that contract. And you guys, check me out on Instagram as well, MMA Fortune Teller _. I did a couple posts about him. Cool video. You could see when he was about, 9 years old, and in his wish when he was his birthday, as he's blowing the candles out, was to fight in the UFC. I think it made it very special to see that after knowing how that all played out, how he almost didn't get the contract, but he ended up getting it. And that's just excellent talent that's added to the flyweight division. Martin Buday is also added to the UFC. got the contract as well. He's a big boy. He's a tough dude. You'll be seeing him putting on some entertaining fights in the heavyweight division. And then Christian Rodriguez missed weight as well. Didn't get the contract. He's a very, very talented fighter as well. I know for sure he'll be in the UFC down the line, or Bellator, one of the top promotions. The thing is, he didn't really have that kill or be killed type of attitude like Headley had, and I think that was the difference of him not getting the contract. But when you miss weight, I mean, the cards are already stacked against you. But again, you got to really go in for the kill and at least get a finish to even give yourself a chance. But keep in mind, again, Hadley, it was a champion outside the UFC, and the guy, Dana White even said that Hadley had some type of issues outside the octagon. He was giving the UFC faculty a hard time. The guy, he has a little bit of a Conor McGregor type of vibe in my opinion. Keep an eye on Hadley. He might really, really stir up the flyweight division and actually make it a division that people respect and actually pay a little bit more attention to, which is something I would love to see because I'm a diehard flyweight division fan. And you guys know I got love for all the divisions, but the more deep they get, the more entertaining it is for us. So great addition to the UFC there. And with no further ado, we'll start to move forward. We got a new fight card to look forward to, Week 8. So kicking things off, we got James Barnes taking on Pedro Falcao, the Brazilian, fighting out of Nova União, one of the best Brazilian fight teams out there, of course, led by the legendary Jose Aldo and a bunch of other great Brazilian fighters that have came out of there. Pedro is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he is a guy that actually favors his striking, so keep that in mind. A very well-rounded fighter here. Coming into this fight at 14-3, James Barnes at 14-4. So very similar records going into this fight. But when I take a look into their resumes, I favor Pedro's resume over James. James, in my opinion, has a little bit easier of a route to his record, a little bit more of a padded record. Where Pedro, yes, definitely Pedro has some guys that he's fought that were not on the level at all, but he does have a couple fighters that were mixed in that were actually way more experienced than him at the time and actually had decent records as well. And Pedro's been going in there starching guys, getting a lot of knockouts. As of recently, in his last 3 fights, he's finished 2 of his last 3 victories. The one loss that he's had as of recently seems it was an injured shoulder that he had. So I'm not even necessarily sure if that was just an orthodox type of finish that happened to him. I think it might have been something a little bit freaky. I didn't get the exact details on that fight. But other than that, he's been going in there and handling business. I really like the way that he looks on the pads. You could check him out on Instagram. You could see him doing some pad work with his coach and whatnot. The guy is definitely a competent striker. It's not a coincidence that he has as many knockouts as he does as of recently. The guy is definitely a dangerous fighter on the feet, and you see him over here with UFC fighter Matheus Nicolau, a very talented fighter fighting out of that gym as well. Even brushing shoulders with the legendary Diego Sanchez and BJ Penn. But again, yeah, man, this is a guy that's really been waiting for this opportunity for quite some time. You take a look at Pedro's age; he's 29 years old. But how about James Barnes, 39 years old? That's right, man. This guy's getting an opportunity on the show at 39 years old. I mean, that's a major red flag. He's about to be 40 years old. But you know what, man? This guy, James, I got to give some credit to him. He's getting this opportunity. James is a guy that, in my opinion, has some pretty solid grappling. From what we could pull up on tape. The only issue is, too, the level of competition, like I talked about earlier. He was fighting this guy, Matt Betzold, who I believe has like a 9-10 record. And he even got James down for a little bit, but James was able to reverse him there, and he ended up getting the submission victory himself there. And he's tricky. He was working his legs. He definitely has some grappling. But you know what? I don't think it's going to be enough to be able to hang with a guy like Pedro's. At the very best scenario, maybe James can kind of hit Pedro with the grappling on an even playing field, but on the feet, I think Pedro has the edge there. He has the youth, the aggressiveness. I'm taking Pedro to win this fight. I think there's a lot more signs that point towards his direction here to win this fight. This is his time now. 29 years old. He's got to really go out there, get a finish like he's been doing, let the hands go, and hopefully he gets that knockout because, if you don't get the knockout, it's not a guarantee you're going to get a contract. Dana White's giving out a lot of contracts early in the season. You got to do something special here to get that paper with your name on it there, man. So, I'm going to take the Brazilian to win the fight here. Of course, again, just keep in mind that, this guy James is 39 years old, got into the game late, it seems. And, maybe he's extremely motivated. Maybe he does go out there and shock the world. Not that it would necessarily be shocking the world. I mean, it's not like he's the biggest underdog. He's coming into this fight right now, right around a 2-1 favorite. So, yeah, let me not get out of hand there. But he is the underdog. He might be one of the oldest fighters that we've seen on this show. And I'm going to take Pedro Falcao, the Brazilian here, to be the more aggressive striker, to kind of dictate the pace of this fight and be the aggressor, landing a lot more strikes. Maybe he gets that finish as well. I'll take Pedro to win the fight. All right, in the light heavyweight division, we got Armand Petrosian taking on Kellyne Kolev. We got the Bulgarian taking on the Armenian fighter. This is a good fight here. Two tough guys that really haven't necessarily proved themselves in the least bit up to this point, but they're going to have a great opportunity to do so here. Definitely a step up in competition for both of these guys. So, they're going to get a chance to prove that they're a legit mixed martial artist that's deserving of this shot here. Armand Petrosian, this is a guy, definitely seems to be more of a striking-based fighter from what I was able to pull up. I saw one fight where he was basically, controlled against the cage for a long period of the fight. Eventually, he was able to create some space, and he hit his opponent with a nasty body shot, getting the finish there. We take a look at what else he's done in his 6 professional fights. Getting a lot of finishes with his strikes, right? This is what the guy does. No submissions on his resume, and does have one loss via getting knocked out himself via punches. Doesn't say TKO or knockout, but he lost his second to last fight against a guy that's 6-4-1. So a little bit alarming. Sometimes when you see those types of things, you got to kind of take a look at that. Now his opponent, Kolev, the Bulgarian, 29 years old. He's 10-0. Take a look at the guys that he's fighting. His last fight, the guy was making his professional debut. The guy before that, 0-4. So we're definitely talking about a padded record here once again. For some reason, it seems that Dana White's Contender Series has been scouting these guys that have padded records. Not that that's a bad thing, but it might be the avenue that they're going. They're going after guys that have not necessarily been around the game, that are kind of journeymen. They're looking for young, new talent, and a lot of these new, younger fighters. I was talking about this recently with somebody. You see it a little bit more so nowadays on the MMA scene. A lot of guys are doing what you've seen done in boxing for a long time, kind of padding the record a little bit. It's not a bad idea. Honestly, it's not. You gain experience, the record looks good, and then eventually you get a shot to get a contract in the UFC now with the show like this. So just the fact that he's been fighting these guys, don't put him under the fire too much for that, but at the same time, understand that he hasn't really beaten anybody. His best victory was over a guy named Cayman Georgiev over at Spartacus Fighting Championship. Now, breaking tape down on the Bulgarian. This guy is definitely a muscle-bound fighter, as you see here, a little bulky. One alarming thing to take into consideration as well, his fights do not pass the first round very often at all. This guy does not have a lot of ring or cage experience, even though he has those 10 fights. So you got to kind of wonder how he's going to look in those later rounds. Whereas his opponent, he's gone to the later rounds. Sometimes he's even got finishes there in the third round, the second round. That one fight I talked about earlier where, he was controlled the entire fight. He was never out of it though, man. Armand was, as soon as he got that space later in the fight, he was still looking for the finish. He's a determined fighter with good cardio. So as far as the cardio goes, I'm going to edge Armand there. Now, on the same token, though, remember I told you he was controlled for a large amount of time in that fight. So I wasn't too pleased with what I saw as far as his grappling and his takedown defense. Not so much his takedown defense, but just being controlled in the clinch and whatnot. Just knowing how to get his opponent off of him and how to circle out. So I do believe that the Bulgarian has an opportunity here to really dominate the grappling, or at least to control those clinch exchanges when he's hanging on Armen. I think that he'll be the stronger guy and he could win some rounds like that. But again, keep in consideration that this show is more of an action-based show, man. The referee's quick to split them up. Everybody's waiting for the action. It's really hard to go in to this show and really just kind of grind your opponent out. So that's not necessarily the best thing for Kolev. He's had some moments, though, too, where I seen him land some big shots. He has some power in his hands. And you know what? I'll take the dog here. A lot of you guys have been getting on me about only picking favorites on the show, which is panned out. If you guys have been paying attention to who's been winning these fight cards, the vast majority of the winners have been the favorites. It is what it is. And not that you should ever look at a fight like that. I mean, you just want to break down the tape and you want to see who's the fighter that should have his hand raised at the end of the day. And this is a fight that's very close, but I think that Kolev has some opportunities here to get his hand raised, and I'm going to take him to win the fight. I think he'll have the grappling advantage a little bit. I think he's a powerful fighter here, and I'm going to see what he's about here. So I'll pick him to win. But again, Armand might be a little bit more diverse with the striking. His kicks are probably better than Kolev's. I expect him to work in the body kicks a little bit more so, where Kolev will be looking for those counter shots with his hands, those power shots too, not really finesse jabs, nothing like that. He's throwing these power hooks, looking to touch the chin. Don't be shocked if Kolev gets a knockout here as well. I like that little X factor there for him as well. Does have power. So we'll take the dog there to win that fight for you guys. How about that? Another light heavyweight bout on the card here. Beraho taking on Jesse Murray. Now, taking into consideration, Caio just fought at the middleweight division, right? Just fought the middleweight division. When? How long ago was that? 2 weeks ago. Looked great against Aaron Jeffrey. Didn't really have that killer instinct in there, but you could see that this guy is just a nasty fighter. Very technically sound. He's a solid fighter, a UFC caliber fighter. He is a minus 450 favor going into this fight. Makes a lot of sense. Wouldn't even be surprised if that line gets steamed up to the minus 700 range. We've seen that a lot with this show, especially the day of when people really catch on to what's going on here. Jesse Murray, the bigger fighter here now, 6'3". Keep in mind that he's a bigger boy here. He's 8-3 though. And as far as his overall skill set goes, I don't believe that he's on the level of Caio. I mean, is his size going to be able to help him out here and make this a little bit of a closer fight? I don't know about that. I mean, maybe. We'll see if he could use his size to try to hang in there and try to bully Caio. Caio is a guy that he looks to stick and move. But again, like I said, this guy Caio now, he's already had a victory on the show, so he's not just coming in here just to get his hand raised like that. He's coming in here to really make a statement. He's going in there to probably look for the finish and make sure he gets the contract. So this might play out to be a very exciting fight. At the end of the day, I got to roll with this guy, Caio. What he went out there and did 2 weeks ago against Aaron Jeffrey was very impressive because for those of you guys that do know, I am pretty high on Aaron Jeffrey. If you look at the only fighters that Aaron Jeffrey even lost to, it's all very high caliber opponents. He comes in phenomenal shape. He's very well rounded. That was a big win there for Caio. Definitely proved that he is a legit fighter. Gonna roll with Caio here. I think that he'll be the more skilled fighter anywhere this fight goes. Again, just keep an eye on the size of Jesse Murray, who might try to just make this a dog fight and try to bully his way into this fight. But I don't know, man. He might be in a little bit over his head here. It's a little bit of a step up in competition for him. And I don't know. I mean, you might have to, I could be wrong, maybe down the line, but this, he might have to savor moments like this, seeing the UFC with his name under it. But props to him for grinding and working to get to the spot that he's at now by even getting a shot here. 28 years old, both these guys 28. It should be a good fight here. And again, the X factor, of course, is Caio bumping up in weight. Just recently having that weight cut to fight at the middleweight division. Definitely seems solid for that weight class. Definitely cut some weight to make the weight class there. Good to see him. He'll be fresh here. No weight cut. He might look excellent in there. He might look as sharp as we ever seen him in there with no weight cut and just being the more skilled fighter. I think Caio handles business. And I'm going to take him by finish. I think that he gets the finish this time. He knows that that's what he needs to do. And if he doesn't know that, then he's missing something. And I love the energy this guy brings. We saw him at the weigh-ins last time, man. He's loud. He's energetic. I want to see him bring that type of energy into the fight, which he somewhat did, but a little bit more so. I want to see him look for the kill in there. This guy has a lot of potential, and we got Caio winning that fight. All right, the next one's taking place in the strawweight division. Over on the female side of things, we got Valerie Machado taking on Piera Rodriguez, the Venezuelan fighter taking on the Brazilian. Good to see we got some more Venezuelan talent making its way into trying to make its way into the UFC. Of course, shout out to the Venezuelan Vixen. Whew. The Venezuelan Vixen, man, I'm a fan of hers. But, on a serious note, this girl, Piera Rodriguez, is a tough fighter, coming off a big victory over on the LFA scene. Got the finish there against a very talented fighter and a very polished fighter and Gotzik. So that was a big win for her 5 months ago. Now she takes on Machado, who is a striking-based fighter from what I've seen, from what I was able to pull up. A lot of knockouts on the feet. The fight tape that I was able to pull up, she definitely favored her striking. You can see her get a nice finish over here. This was one of her more recent fights. I believe this was it 2 fights ago? I believe it was. Not exactly. Yeah, maybe two, three fights ago. But she favored her striking. She went in there and she got the job done. I think that she is a talented fighter on the feet. She has to get her game to her grappling and her jiu-jitsu and all that. She has to have that elevate up to her striking level to become a well-rounded fighter. I think that she's still working on all that. She's only 8-2. She's only 26 years old, still very young. I think that Piera, on the other hand, is a little bit ahead of her in that regard. We've seen Piera throw some nasty strikes in the feet as well. She's very ferocious and technical on the feet, but she'll also grab a hold of you, rip you down to the mat, and work you there as well. Like I said, coming off the last fight where she stopped the fight down there in the mat. If you pull up, this is a pretty cool video you could pull up of her. About 5 minutes of her just doing damage. And she's looking to strike you at all times. And while you're trying to get up from her takedowns, she's going to be raining you with hammer fist as you're trying to get back up to your feet. She's constantly letting her hands go. I love that type of energy. I think that she's the more well-rounded fighter here, and that's why I'm going to take her to win. The line obviously agrees with me here. She's coming into this fight right now right around a minus 380, minus 350 favorite, and I think that's reasonable. When you have a fighter that might have a clear edge with the grappling, you got to be careful there, but she also can strike as well. So it's not like if she can't get the fight down to the feet that she's going to be a fish out of water. If Machado can keep this fight standing, though, there could be a clear path for her, to victory for her there. Maybe she just gets the better of Rodriguez there for 3 rounds and wins the decision, or maybe she's even able to get another finish there. She's been proven to go in there and finish her opponents. She has a good resume as far as that goes. We'll pull it up real quick. Finished her last 4 fights, okay, and finishing all throughout the fights too. First round, third round, first round, second round. At any time in the fight, she's dangerous. Had 2 split decision losses, so even her losses were close fights. Not a lot of names stick out to her on her resume to me. Definitely lower level fighters. Where again, at least Piera, we've seen Piera in there with the 13-4 Gotzik over at LFA. But then other than that too, it's you're taking a step down in competition with these other fighters. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Pierre La Fiera Rodriguez to win the fight. And I think she's a tough girl. Let's see if she can get this fight down to the mat and really work some damage there. I take her to win that fight. Hey, you guys, I'll make this short and sweet. If you're looking for a new sports book, Bovada.lv is the sports book you guys want to use. In my honest opinion, it is by far the best online sports book out there at the moment. And I will send you guys over my referral code if you reach out to me. We'll both get a little bonus, and I will help you figure anything out. If you're new to the online sports betting world, I will show you how it all works. If you guys already know the routine and you want to get a nice little sign-up bonus and have a legit sportsbook website, Bovada.lv is the website to use. I've been using them from way back in the day, almost over a decade at this point. So Bovada.lv is legit. If you're interested, shoot me an email, shoot me a DM. I will show you how it all works, or we'll figure out what we need to do to get you guys going. All right, guys? All right, that takes us to the main event. Solomon Renfro taking on Jonny Parsons. Fight that has all the makings to be action-packed. Very excited for this fight. Let's get into it. Also, though, real quick, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button. If you guys could hit that like button for me, helps me out a lot over here. The algorithms and all that, that's what they say. Helps the channel get a little bit of notoriety. If you guys could do that for me, I'd appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button too, man. If you're just coming by for the DWCS breakdowns, hit that subscribe button, man. I'll have a lot of content coming out to you guys, okay? And again, Instagram, MMA Fortune Teller _. I'm all over the Instagram, man, with all types of posts, memes, this and that. It's the greatest way for you guys to keep up with me as far as my bets and being interactive and all that. So go give me a follow there as well. And we'll get into this fight here, man. Solomon Renfro, who is 8-1, taking on Jonny Parsons. Again, Jonny Parsons is the Muay Thai instructor over at Syndicate MMA. This guy has a lot of striking experience. He's a nasty Muay Thai fighter. He's a pit bull. He's a dog of a fighter. You break down tape on this guy. This guy's coming at you. And good luck getting the finish on him, too, because he could take a shot. He'll take 2 shots just to land a big shot on you. You got to love the mullet, man. The mullet's flapping in the wind. This guy is really a killer. I've seen some fights where he's knocked dudes out and he's even went in, hit the opponent with some unnecessary blows even after the fight was clearly over. The guy's out. He's a dog. He wants to get that last shot in on you. And whether you agree with that or not, I want to give you guys a detailed description of what type of fighter we're talking about. This guy is going in to get the kill on you. Not literally. You guys know what I'm saying. This guy's going in there to take you out. Okay. Solomon Renfro, decently technical on the feet himself. Can't really complain too much from what I've seen from him on tape. Fighting over at CFFC for a while over there, and it's a good promotion. There's some good talent that goes through there. Solomon's been going over there, handling business for the most part, coming off 2 finishes. You can pull up the Nick Ali fight on YouTube, and that was a fight where he pushed the pace. Like I said, his striking was good. Eventually, he landed a big shot. And, he hurt Nick Ali. And Nick Ali was a tough guy trying to hang in there. But you have to love the way that Renfro just was relentless. He never gave up in there. Continuously worked the ground and pound and the strikes and the control until he got that finish. So a polished fighter, in my opinion, is Solomon. I think Solomon will have the edge as far as the grappling goes from what I was able to see. But I know that Jonny's been working on that a lot as well. If Jonny is able to make this fight just a straight up striking match, there's no question that Jonny is in this fight or might even be really just in a great spot to have his hand raised. I think that Jonny is a nasty striker, and I might even favor him on the feet. I don't know, though. I kind of want to see how it plays out. Like I said, Solomon's striking is not bad as well. I think it might be pretty even on the feet. Solomon carries some serious power as well. Seems to be a little bit, he has a different type of style. He's a little bit more relaxed in there. He's very technical. His shots are nice and straight. His punches are nice and straight. Where Johnny's, of course, he's a technical fighter as well. He's an instructor at Syndicate MMA from Muay Thai, but the guy is ferocious in there, man. He puts a lot of energy into his shots. He's looking to take your head off in there. I'm excited to see how this fight's going to take place in the feet. At the end of the day, though, I feel that Solomon might be just a little bit more well-rounded. I think there's a little bit of an X factor there. He's 24 years old. Seems to be the better athlete. Looks to be in better shape than Jonny. No shade on Jonny there, but this guy is not a guy that's really going to overwhelm you physically as far as with his physique and his athleticism. He's just a very, very tough dude. And, I do favor Renfro for that reason. I feel that Renfro will be a little bit quicker in there at times, a little bit more athletic with the scrambles when this fight really starts to get ugly, when it's not just a striking match, when these guys are not just sitting there tit for tat in a Muay Thai fight. I'm talking about a dog fight, a dog MMA fight where things are getting nasty in there, and scrambles are happening and guys are going for takedowns and they're falling, they're tripping, and you're jumping back up and you're scrambling. I have a feeling that Renfro might be a little bit quicker with those types of maneuvers and whatnot. I could see Renfro being the guy that's kind of the guy that ends up on top, landing the strikes when the fight hits the mat. On the feet, though, again, I'm excited to see how that takes place, and I think that Parsons can more than handle his own there. The guy's he's a bulldog. That's actually the word I'll use to describe Parsons. He's a bulldog. At the end of the day, though, like I said, I'm going to take Renfro to win the fight. He's almost a 3-1 favorite here, so seems people kind of agree with me in that sense as well. Renfro does have a good amount of backing going into this fight. People are high on him, and there's a lot to be high on. The kid looks talented. We'll see if he can get the contract. Don't have a reach on him over here, but he's an inch shorter than Jonny there. But he's a bulky dude, man. He's a thick dude, man. Very stout, very muscular, and carries some power as well. So we'll take Solomon in the main event there. That's going to wrap up today's breakdown. You guys know I have these weekends fights coming at you guys here. I'll have that video out hopefully have it out to you guys hopefully by tonight. Let's see what else. We got some big fight cards on the horizon. That's for sure. So this upcoming card this Saturday is not the best card. Once again, that's 3 fight cards that weren't necessarily the best, but we got big time fight cards coming up on the horizon. We're going to be spoiled to cap the year off. So just remember that, guys. All right. And that's going to wrap things up over here. I'll be in your guys' ears very, very shortly with another video. Signing out. Teller.
The Teller.
It's another day. Left jab, right jab. This is MMA. Mixed martial arts, quick body parts, undefeated when I pick 'em. Who the champ, who the victim? Looking in my crystal ball, I predict the winner. Never stop fighting. If you lose, keep your chin up. Know how the game go. I'm a smart fella. Welcome to the show. This the MMA fortune teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The Teller.